All right, welcome back to another episode of the full Fletch Podcast with your Tism boys.
Oh my God.
Brooks, Tanner, and Justin. We got the three of us, the three amigos, the three
The
jabronis.
three musketeers.
Nice.
So
We
much
are back.
self-control.
All right, boys, this is going to be a fun one. We've kind of put this one on the back burner. We've mentioned broadheads before, but we're diving deep on it today. Broadhead talk. We've mentioned which ones we use in the past. We're going to talk a lot more about the ones we use and our theories, our method behind our madness, or just general madness. We'll share those thoughts, and then explore the other options in the broadhead world. But before we get to that, let's get a little update. Tan Man, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired.
Sleepy
Yeah.
Tan Man.
Yeah, I'm running thin. I'm fumes right now. I got this last stretch of work. And then you got this.
Oh,
I got this last stretch till April and get a little restart.
here you go.
Cool.
Exciting times. Brooksy, how's Brooksy feeling today?
I feel a little better.
Better than last night?
Yeah, definitely had a fever after we got off last night. But I feel better today. Just still have kind of a nasty cough. But taking a
Tough deal.
lozenge right now. We'll see how that helps it. So
That's the other thing. So I was telling you guys, I talked to Brooks, mentioned in the last episode that we recorded, Ted Ramirez. I had talked to Ted today, and we were just talking or whatever, and he was like, I was like, yeah, Brooks isn't feeling well. He goes, what? I just shot bows with him today or yesterday. Like, what do you mean he's not feeling good? I was like, I don't know, man. He just told me he's not feeling good. I don't know. It wasn't my business to tell him whatever you were feeling. I was like, he just said he wasn't feeling good, and I don't know. It sounded like it was something that happened like way after you guys left. So I think you'll be okay.
yeah, I told him, I was like, yeah, I kind of had this like weird cough here and there, but I feel fine. And then after we got done last night, and I was like, geez, I feel like shit. I called into work, and I was like, off.
It's always nice.
Yeah. After being there for a year and 8 months, today is my first ever sick day. So they should be thankful.
Right.
Big company guy, you know?
They should be thanking you.
Big company
100%. Big company guy. Oh man, I think all three of us are cut from that same cloth of like, unless we're like absolutely dying or like really not feeling good, we're not taking a sick day. And like Brooks, a year and 8 months, I'm going on almost 2 years. I don't think I've taken a sick day. I barely take days off for like vacation, and that's only to see family. Tanner's like,
I was forced to
what is
leave.
a day off?
I was forced to leave halfway through the day because when I had poison ivy. They told me to leave. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, it's not contagious. They're like, yeah, but you don't know what it is. I was like, fuck, all right, so.
No, I think it's a blessing and a curse because we don't know how to stop working sometimes, but it's also good because we work hard and we care about what we do. So kudos to you guys. Kudos to us. But
Yeah.
all right. We'll get to the point, listeners. You guys, I think if there's any excitement around it, you guys are probably chomping at the bit like I am. I love Broadhead talk. I think it's always intriguing to hear other people's perspectives when it comes to broadheads. And so, arrows in general, but broadheads more specifically, there's definitely the debate, mechanical versus fixed versus single bevel, not single bevel. So anyways, we'll cut to the chase here. Talk some broadheads. I got mine here. Looks like Brooks was playing with his a minute ago, talking about his broadhead. That's what he was playing with, and his arrow. And then I know what Tanner shoots. Tanner kind of knows what he shoots, so we'll get to talking. Brooks, you got yours there in your hand. Let's talk about what Brooks suits, what he's got on the tip of his arrow.
I have a Muzzy 100.
Muzzy 100 grain.
100 grain.
That is a 3-blade.
3-blade. Honestly, my future father-in-law gave them to me, so that's my extent on broadheads. So,
Hey, we
I
all
like
start
them.
somewhere.
Yep, I like him. Haven't killed anything with them yet, but I like them.
That's what matters.
Hopefully a turkey.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be fun. I had mentioned it when we had talked. One of the 100 times we've talked arrows. The Muzzy 3-blade 100 grain. I feel like 90% of hunter, if not every single hunter, has at least owned one set of the Muzzy 3-blade, and they're very affordable. I wouldn't call them cheap. I'd call them affordable, like inexpensive. All the blades are all replaceable, and so you don't have to sharpen them. They're thinner, maybe not quite as sturdy, but they're easy to replace. And like I said, they have a long history. Those broadheads have probably killed more animals than any other thing. I'm sure now at this point others are getting up there in the numbers, but the Muzzy 3-blade with those replaceable blades has been a long history broadhead. Speaking of okay, I guess we'll just go on to the next guy, and then we'll kind of circle back. Tan Man, what do you shoot?
I don't know what the brand is, but it's OZ Cut.
I believe that is the brand.
Sure. Yeah, maybe. But it's a double bevel 125, and they shoot straight and they're very sharp.
Yeah, OZ Cut Elite Series.
That's what it is.
2-blade. Does yours have the bleeders?
No.
No bleeder blades.
No bleeder
I don't
blade.
know if they make a bleeder blade.
I don't think they do, but they're sharp as hell.
Yes.
It shoots straight, shoots fast, and it does what it's supposed to do. I don't know. You know me. I don't put too much time and effort in.
Don't be to feed them. Yeah, you're not like a super gearhead on the archery gear, so
not even like really hardly at all for my.
I'm looking up these broadheads. So those broadheads made from 100% stainless steel. So like Tanner was saying, those are pretty sturdy, beefy. You went 100 grain, 125 grain.
125.
You went 125. That's right.
125.
Yep. So I guess we can kind of circle back to why we choose what we choose as far as weight goes. But yeah, the 125s. Brooke shoots the 100s. I believe Brooks, your 3-blade those are aluminum blades, I believe. I would imagine so.
Do you have a magnet near you?
I don't think so.
That's a good way to tell the difference between steel and aluminum. Aluminum not magnetic, and really, really, really good stainless steel is also not magnetic. But you can hear the difference and feel it.
Aluminum ferrule, stainless steel blades.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
Very
gonna
nice.
say,
Yeah, so
I wouldn't imagine the blades themselves were aluminum, but I could see the actual
the ferrule.
ferrule. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to. Yeah. No. A lot of broadheads, they have aluminum ferrules and stainless steel cutting edges, or some sort of steel.
Here, hold on, guys. Sorry.
A little bit more sturdy on the cutting edges. And then just
titanium.
to say weight.
There's some that are titanium too, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's just something where people that want a heavier broadhead, and but they don't want like something super beefy, they'll go with something that weighs more. And doesn't add too much size. So, like you said, titanium, heavier, things like that. So, and there's other types of steel that are going to be heavier than, A5 tool steel is probably heavier than a stainless steel or what have you. And so just the way that the broadheads are going to be cut and shaped is going to depend on, what material they're made out of and all that good stuff. But yeah, so Muzzy, aluminum ferrule, it's just something probably for them to save some weight because they're pretty decent sized arrow, especially with the 3 blades on there. So I mean they're not like I said, they're not beefy either, and so but it's just something where they save weight where they can, so it doesn't turn into a 150 grain broadhead just because of what material you're using. So, all right, and then I guess that brings it to me, and then we'll go back around and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're looking at doing and whatnot. But I got mine here, the Iron Will 125 single bevel with bleeders. So, yeah, I really like Iron Will. I had the 100 grain double bevel with bleeders. That was my second broadhead. I had the muzzies. I never really tried to hunt with the muzzies. I immediately, as soon as I got my new bow and everything, I just went full new setup, and I went with the Iron Will double bevels as my first broadhead. And then I like those. I killed my first deer with that, but I started getting into doing some more research. And I was like, oh, single bevel, that sounds good. They've got some benefits over double bevel. And so I wanted a little bit more weight, and then I wanted to try the single bevel. So I went with Iron Will single bevel with bleeders. So yeah, that's what I have now. And, I'm always looking to upgrade, update, what have you. And so I guess we'll circle back around, and I guess we'll come back to me at some point. But Tan Man, you said that you're not much of a gearhead and you don't do too much digging on it, but what is your stance on where you're going to go with broadheads going into this next season, whether it's turkey, deer, or whatever?
I'm going to stay with my shotgun for turkey this year. But I don't know. I've thought about switching for deer season. I really like where I was at, like shooting wise with my arrows that I have now, which doesn't really matter because I'm going to have to get new ones anyway, I think, or at least get them refletched. But I don't know. I like those broadheads. They shot pretty straight, and like you and I shot quite a bit before season, and like fine-tuned a lot of shit, which was helpful for you and me because we had talked before, but like there was a lot of inconsistencies in my bow, and it was very frustrating because like when we would do 3D shoots, it was like that one where that panther was like tucked behind the tree, and it was like I'm making shots, like I'm hitting 12s and like literally shooting a dime, and then I would shoot at a like deer broadside at 35 yards and I'll miss by like a foot. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I remember that shot on like that panther. It wasn't like a 20-yard like chip shot. I think that one might have been like a 45 yard, kind of a longer shot.
And I was shooting it at a side lunge too. Like I wasn't like standing straight up. So
or like around a tree basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we dialed some stuff in, and I gained a lot more confidence. I think much more than last year. And like last year was a completely different ballgame, like where I was at mentally anyway, and like whatever. So, like was able to dial it in quite a bit, and like I like the way they shoot. Like my field tips are 125s. So I was like dead set on getting broadheads that were 125s this year without breaking the bank, and like I didn't. I think it was like $45 for those 3 heads.
Yeah.
And I mean they worked out
very
well.
affordable.
And the biggest challenge that I had was like sharpening. But I mean I figured it out. So And I think I'll probably stick with him this year again. We'll see,
Yep.
but I have made the commitment to myself to dedicate more time, at least scouting in the off season and like even scouting in off days. And like, I work with a guy that we just hired. He just moved down here from Connecticut a few months ago. And, he, they, I mean, they can hardly own guns in Connecticut, but this dude is just like, he's got his own arsenal. And I went and shot with him a couple weekends ago. And, I just told him, I was like, hey man, like, he had mentioned something about hunting, and he's actually taking his hunter safety right now, which is kind of cool. And he wants to go hunting,
Yeah.
but, like, he's all psyched about it and whatever.
Nice.
So I told him that at some point, like, I'll take him scouting and like he can go with us at some point in time. He's a cool dude. He's a great dude. But like I was telling him today that like the night before, probably like the entire week before, I'd say that like I'm gonna do my best to leave work at a decent time to where I can go scout turkeys before it gets dark, before
Yeah.
opening day. Because
Yeah.
last year we just kind of went in blind. So,
Right.
but
No,
yeah,
I
that's
think
kind of
for as far as your setup, I mean, I would agree with you, like not tinkering with it too much, just because, you know, that was your first deer that you shot with a bow and arrow, and that's something that's not easy to do in general. And so to have something that you have confidence in and like works and works well, it's something that it's like ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, there was nothing wrong. Like you made a great shot. The broadhead did what it was supposed to. The arrow did what it was supposed to. Like you said, you might need new arrows, but you know, you can always build an arrow to almost nearly identical specs as a previous arrow, and it might just be a different brand. And so, you know, that's something where, you know, your buddy Justin can help you build out an arrow based on weight and length and all that stuff to try to match it as close to possible or as close as possible. And so, you know, those things are attainable to be, you know, very close replicas just to maintain a consistent setup so that you can go into next season. And so,
yeah. Which I think they discontinued the arrows that I have. I'm not 100%, but
it's possible.
the Carbon Express, the Black Eagle Carbon Express.
Yeah.
So I don't think they make them anymore, which is fine. I like them, and yeah, I'm like checked out of like shooting my bow and like leaving it, like giving it a rest, because I was like so fucking hardcore with it during deer season that I just want to like give myself that mental break. But I think once like July, August rolls around, it'll be back on the same train.
Yeah, for sure. Brooksy baby. Let's hear it. What's your thought process on broadheads? You're sticking with the muzzies, or what's your exploratory mind telling you?
Well, I would have to, I don't know, like, part of me wants to stick with it, but part of me I look at these others and I'm like, ooh, these are cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, these are cool. And then I'm like, great, now I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. I didn't know turkeys had a separate broadhead. So now I'm like, great. I gotta look at that now.
You gotta use those. You gotta shoot them in the face with those.
So they do make a small game head, turkey head, which Iron Will just came out with theirs, and I like the look of them. I think they probably do great. They're $100 some odd bucks. I think across the board, whatever weight you go with. But yeah, it's not a requirement. Like you don't need, like you can shoot it with whatever broadhead you have. Like I'm gonna go with this same 125 single bevel for turkey this year. You just gotta adjust where you're shooting. So like Tanner was saying, they make those turkey heads that are like 3-4 inches wide, and they're just like fixed
like
blade,
ninja star.
Yeah, but like giant 3-blade. very, very wide, and you have to change what fletching you use and all that stuff on those.
Oh,
But
well, then I might just go with the muzzies then.
yeah, but you can go with like a small game head. Like I really was so close to getting those iron will small game heads because they're just a little bit better. I mean, a small wound channel on a small animal, I don't know. I didn't see all the benefits of using that head. I talked to the guy and he's like, it's deadly on small game. And so if you want to make sure that something dies, I recommend it. It's like, yeah, well, I think your 125 single double is pretty deadly also. It's just, like I said, it's a matter of where you aim and like what part you're going for. So, anyways, aside from turkey, looking at like elk and deer, stuff like that, what's your thought process on broadheads for that?
I'm gonna have to look at some, but I like the iron wills for sure.
Yes.
I kind of pulled up, it's like best broadheads of 2025. And then there's a lot, there's budgets, there's best mechanical, best fix, which is obviously best fix is iron will. This is from outdoorlife.com. So this is what they think.
Yeah. They do a lot of like polls or rankings or whatever like that. So I feel like they're fairly accurate for the most part. Agreeable.
Yeah. They write some good articles too, by the way.
Yeah.
Just speaking on them, but go ahead.
But I'm just gonna have to kind of just look and see what I want.
Do some looking.
Do some shopping, yeah. That's
maybe this conversation can guide you into a path that you're like, oh, that sounds a little bit more interesting than that, or or it's like, well, those all sound fine and dandy, but I'm just gonna stick with old reliable, the one that I got. So, no, I think for me, like I said before, many times now, I'm always looking at broadheads and tinkering with my broadheads as well as my arrows, but like updating my broadheads is a huge thing to me because the thing that you're cutting with is going to be the most important thing. Like, yes, your arrow is important and you want it to fly true, but if the thing on the tip of that arrow does not kill, is not capable of killing, then it's all for naught. It's all pointless. So, pun not intended. Anyways, the broadheads I'm looking at, I mean, I'm always looking at going heavier just because I'm obviously FOC front of center for talking about the arrow as a whole. FOC is really important anyways, but I like to have a little bit farther FOC, and so or a little bit more percentage, higher percentage. So it just that and penetration and kinetic energy, stuff like that you're talking about down range, not necessarily long range, but down range, having higher kinetic energy down range. That's what I'm looking for. And a lot of my opinions, I guess, are in line with like the Ranch Fairy, and because he's a huge proponent of arrow weight and broadhead weight and stuff like that being heavier. And so for me to achieve, like with these arrows right now, in order for me to achieve a weight that I want, I have to up my broadhead weight at least 100 more grains than they are now. And then if not more. So, that's something, we talked about what arrow setup I'm probably going to go with. I'll probably find an arrow setup where maybe I don't have to have such a heavy broadhead and I can just do some back weights in the insert on the backside. But for now, until I get to that point, I'm definitely, and plus there's other broadheads where they only make heavy broadheads in like the shape or design that I want. So, what thoughts do you guys have on that off the jump?
What's your desired weight?
I would like to, because I'm pretty much whitetail and turkey only with my bow. My I'm going 650 plus. I would like 650 to be my basement. And so, and I think right now, I forget what I'm at right now. I think it's like low 500s, high 400s. And so, I've got a long ways to go. And so part of my arrow build going into next year is like, yeah, I definitely need some back weights if I'm keeping the same broadhead, or I need, one way or another, I need to add some weight, add some beef somewhere. So, that's my huge consideration.
If it's what's for dinner.
But yeah, so my ideal weight, to answer your question, 650 plus. Based on,
That's a heavy wrong.
Yeah, based on, like I said, it's a lot of what Rainsbury has to say, and it's not just him pulling it out of thin air. Ed Ashby, Dr. Ed Ashby, and the Ashby Foundation.
He's been shot in the ass too many times, by the way. Turkey hunting.
I can't say I'm aware of those stories.
Oh my! He tells them on Meat Eater, like it's been a couple years ago now, but he tells some stories about getting shot in the ass like 2 or 3 times while turkey hunting.
Oh, that's funny. I'll have to go give that a listen. But no, so basically, like for ideal penetration and arrow flight and all that stuff, in order to get like a full pass through almost every time, you need to have 650 plus. That's basically what the research has been showing. And it's funny because I've listened to some podcasts lately that they call them out on it and say, like, they call out Ranch Fairy on it and saying, well, all these animals that this data is based on are animals in Africa where they're shooting like Cape buffaloes or whatever, water buffaloes, whatever they have in Africa. And it's like, we're not shooting those animals. We're shooting white-tailed deer and elk, and the hide isn't as tough, and it's a whole different situation. It's like, yes, you're right. However, you can't test on the animals in the U.S. the way that they can test in Africa. And so, the only thing we can get a close type of testing on is wild hogs, because there's like basically no limit on them, and you can shoot it basically as many as you want. That's the only way in America you can get like true testing. But the way that they do their testing in Africa with Ed Ashby Foundation and all that stuff, you just can't replicate that because they don't have white-tailed deer and elk, and so and other Western big game animals. So you can't go in and say, okay, well that's the case for these animals and not for these animals. And so, but for me, it's like, okay, you look at it, and if 650 can get through a big ass buffalo in Africa, it's gonna get through a white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's where I want to get, is just like, people use the term bulletproof. Like, I want basically a bulletproof setup where my penetration is going to be unmatched. Like it gets through an animal. My harvest this year, I made a kind of difficult shot, I would say. It was just such a steep angle, and it got caught going through one heavy bone and into another heavy bone, and I didn't get a full pass through. And it was like, in the moment, I just didn't know that was the case, and I thought that it should have been a full pass through, and with a little bit more weight, it definitely could have, but because it didn't fully pass through, it was like there was so much doubt left, and I want to be left without a doubt. As when I see that arrow hit the animal, I want to know, okay, it's going through, it's making 2 wound channels, and I'm going to be able to track that animal. And so that's just kind of where I'm at with that. And
how far did you track her?
0 yards. That's it, just the way it hit. It not paralyzed her because it didn't hit her spine, but it just made it to where it she couldn't move her legs.
You literally like pinned her.
Yeah, I basically pinned her down because it did the second one got stuck in the ground, but the first one got stuck like it went like humerus to humerus, and it just like kind of got stuck in there. And so she couldn't run soon enough to break the arrow because she probably would have, but yeah. So it was fortunate that she wasn't able to go anywhere, and it like I said, it was a steep shot, and I've never had a shot opportunity of that at that angle, and so I would definitely aim different than I did for that one if I have that same opportunity. But regardless, in that situation, I make that shot. I want to have a situation where it doesn't matter if I miss my mark the way I did. I want it to go through, and so that's where my arrow weight is going to come into play. And going back to broadheads, I think the type of broadhead I use is going to be really important. So, iron will, their cutting diameter is 1 1/16 inch, and their bleeder blades are a 3/4 inch. And then I want to say the length is about 1.5 inches or something like that. And so it's not quite 2 inches. Or maybe it's closer to 1 inch, but it's basically like a true triangle. And so, when we're talking about penetration, there's other broadheads out there where, going back to the Ashby Foundation, the ideal cutting or the ideal ratio is where length is 3 to 1. Length to width is 3 to 1. And so, it makes you think of like a old time, like Native American broadhead, where they're those really long ones and really narrow. So I'm looking at a lot of different broadheads like that, where they're long and narrow. They don't make them with bleeder blades, which is fine, but because that the only thing that does is cause more friction going through an animal. It does create a bigger wound channel, but it's more opportunity for it to not get a pass through. And so I would rather have a pass through and have 2 wound channels, as opposed to not having a full pass through and a wider cut. That's just me.
Makes sense.
Great.
But
I think a lot of broadhead arrow is, and it's so easy to have it be like an argumentative topic because there are different opinions, but it's just like anything else. But I don't know if there really is like a right or wrong solution for a lot of people. You know what I mean? And like somebody's going to tell you that you're wrong one way or the other. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. You could literally say like, you could meet one guy independently, say, yeah, I shoot mechanical heads, and he shoots mechanical heads. Next guy, I shoot fixed blades. He shoots fixed blades. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's a right or wrong in this, but everybody's going to argue one way or the other.
Right. I think the only wrong answer is something that will not kill. And, that is where people have debates and they say, well, I've killed plenty of animals with it. And it's like, well, ethically or not ethically, reliably, more is maybe the question.
Yeah, that's a better word.
That's the only way that there's right and wrong, in my opinion. But I'm on the same page as you. It's like, yeah, the fixed blade guys are on the train with fixed blade guys. Mechanicals are on the side with mechanicals, and then they have their debate at the end of the day between each other.
And it makes zero difference.
If they both kill, what's there to really argue about?
It's like a lot of hunting culture. That's all it is anymore. It's just like, my dad can beat up your dad. No, my dad can beat up your dad. Like, it's exactly what it's like. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh, I shoot a Benelli. It's like, I shoot a Beretta. I'll never shoot a Benelli. It's like, why not? They're both really good shotguns.
Right. I shoot a Hoyt. I never shoot a Matthews.
And that's where you're wrong, bro.
And that's where wrong. the line gets drawn.
How dare you say that?
No, I mean, I guess to get a little bit more specific, I've looked at a couple different broadheads that kind of fit that parameter. The Sirius brand, I've looked at their broadheads many times now, and they've got a 3-pack for $80, which is pretty affordable for what you're getting out of it. I was just looking at it. It's a high carbon steel alloy, so it's not stainless steel, but I don't know, high carbon. I don't know what all that means. It's easy to sharpen. It's a single bevel. It's a true 3-to-1 mechanical advantage, where it's that 3 inches long, 1 inch wide, or 1 16th inch, I guess is the diameter. I want to say that I think there's like a minimum that these broadheads have to be, because I feel like almost all broadheads, even the smallest, most narrow ones I see, are 1 16th inch. And so I don't know if that's an actual thing, but or if that's just the way they all make them. But now this one, the Meathead Meathead 275 grain broadhead. I could buy that thing, put it on this arrow right now, and that would put me over my 650 mark. And it's that true 3-to-1.
275 grand. Jeez.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is a beefy sound gun on the
tungsten.
Better
just
pack that thing out for you.
It's 0.052 inches thick, as opposed to.
She said.
I feel like I just saw. To talk about thickness, I had just seen it on the Muzzy. Those blades, just the blade part of it, is 0.02 inches thick.
So it's more.
It's 2.5 times thicker than the blade that Brooks has on his broadhead.
Thick. Great stage.
Girl. But yeah. So that's one that I've looked at. Iron Will, they make heavy, they make plenty of they make the same broadhead in a heavier weight, and I'm not opposed to that. I really like the idea of the penetration and mechanical advantage that those longer broadheads have, that are closer to 3-to-1. Because like I said, penetration is where I'm looking to go, and this penetrates. It kills. It's without a doubt. I've killed 2 animals with Iron Will. I'm not saying they don't kill, but I would like to see something that is going to be more or less bulletproof, quote unquote, in the penetration realm, where it is going to get through things. And so, I don't know, that's one that I've looked at. They have partnered up with Ranch Fairy, where it's basically the same shape and size as an Iron Will, or similar, and it's just a little bit shorter and about 1 and change wide, and so 1 and an 1/8, not 1 and 16th, so it's a little bit wider. But I don't know. I'm definitely gonna stick with single bevel and fixed blade. So fixed blade, single bevel, that's for sure where I'm gonna go. I don't think they make a mechanical broadhead that is over 125. They might make one that's like 150, but they don't make heavy mechanical broadheads. So that's part of why I'm not going to go mechanical. There's a whole other part, but I don't know. I guess the big question is, Brooks, what questions do you have? Because like you said, you're less knowledgeable on this stuff. You're still new to it. You're still learning. What questions do you have on what broadheads we're using and what you're looking at getting out of them?
Sorry if you just heard my dogs freak out.
We heard it.
Oh, I figured. I was hoping not, but Justin, could you actually repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
You're good. What questions do you have on what we've covered so far? Is there okay, well, what's the benefit of this? What's the benefit of a single bevel as opposed to double bevel? Single blade, 2 blade versus 3 blade.
Take us through your thought process.
yeah, I guess what's the benefits of each? What's the cons of each? Like for a single versus double.
So single bevel, and for the viewers that can see, I don't know if my lighting is good enough, but you can see that on one side of this broadhead, for me, it's on the right side. So they're right hand bevel because I have a right hand helical with my fletchings. So right hand bevel. So the right hand side of the broadhead is my cutting edge, and then the left side is just the back side of the other cutting edge. So when you talk about like a knife, that's a double bevel edge.
I was going to say it's like a one-sided knife.
Yeah, makes sense.
Think about like a razor blade. Not even a razor blade. Like when you're shaving, like a straight edge shaving blade, where it's just one side when you're sharpening just one side. That's more of what a single bevel is. Now, the advantage over a double bevel. So double bevel, it's going to go in, and when it makes contact with its target, it's just going to stay on whatever angle it made contact. So, if it's straight upright, tilt, whatever. As it's rotating through, it hits. As soon as it hits, it's going to stop rotating and just keep going through the target until either it's a pass through or it hits a point where it can't go anymore. But it's going to stay on that same angle all the way through. It's not going to rotate unless there's some other factor of the animal moves its arm and somehow makes it rotate. But that's not very likely because it's going so fast it really doesn't get to that point. So it gets to the target and stays on that line that it hit all the way through it. Whereas single bevel, it will hit the target, and because it kind of has that rotation aspect of it, it will continue to rotate along that bevel. So, like for mine, it's a right bevel with my right helical, so it's spinning pretty good to the right. As soon as it hits, it will continue to rotate from like me to you, and it'd be clockwise. So
Gotcha.
it continues to rotate clockwise. It's not like a super fast. It doesn't make like a true circle.
Blades
when
are
you
like
look
a guide.
when you look at the way a single bevel will cut, like on a scapula is a good example. People, because it's a little bit more wide of a bone, people will show how a single bevel will cut through a scapula. It makes like an S curve on where it cuts. So when you're going double bevel, it makes just a straight line on that cut. When you're on a single bevel, it'll make an S curve. And so the other benefit is when that single bevel hits a bone, if it gets into the bone far enough and continues to rotate, now you're talking about completely shattering or like dismembering a bone. If it has enough momentum, force, energy, it can like basically not obliterate and explode a bone, but it'll like separate it very well. Whereas a double bevel, it will just kind of cut through that bone if it's a small enough bone. Otherwise, like a big bone like a humerus, it'll likely just get stuck in it. Whereas a single bevel will have that advantage to get into it and break that bone and then possibly continue to go through it.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
Like I said, with this one and with the double bevel, they have those bleeder blades, and so that's not really much of a factor. Like it doesn't have the same type of impact as the actual cutting blade itself. It does have the same bevel where it's on the right side. It's just an additional. It makes the wound channel a little bit wider, so it gives you basically 4 blades, but not totally. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of the whole point of a bleeder blade is, especially if you hit lungs, it's just something to catch those extra capillaries or whatever.
So like for me to describe it is if you have a knife and you stab, the knife's going to go straight through because it's like a guide on both sides, right? To where as a single bevel has just one side, so it's naturally going to do this, right? So you're kind of like
rotation.
corkscrewing in there.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And then I guess the difference between like 2-blade and 3-blade, now you get talking into like diameter, cutting diameter. And so single bevel is going to it's going to create a bigger wound channel than probably a double bevel, unless you have good sized bleeders on there. A 3-blade, fixed blade 3-blade is going to be wider than both of those, just because, it's a triangle shaped cutting diameter, and, most 3-blades are going to be, I don't know if it says right here, 1 3/16 inch cutting diameter. So, 2/16 to 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, whatever difference between the 3-blade versus a single or a 2-blade, which kind of makes a little bit more. I mean, it makes a difference for sure. The more you can cut, the better. And then that's where people get into mechanicals and mechanical blades. You're talking those cutting diameters are 2 inch, 2.5 inch. It depends on which ones you're talking about, but those will get into the Rage Hypodermic, which is kind of an all-time popular mechanical blade that has a 2-inch cutting diameter. And so that's where people get into, it creates the biggest wound channel, thus creating the most blood. And you're going to have a better blood trail, in theory, because it cuts a bigger hole into that animal. And so that's kind of the differences there. And to go back to the question, that's the advantage of a single bevel over a double bevel. And that's kind of the difference.
Makes sense to me.
What other questions you got, Brooks? Let's continue the dialogue here.
What like for mechanical? So like when it does the mechanical broadhead start working when it penetrates, or is it while it's in the air?
So those all mechanicals are supposed to be deployed upon impact, and so they'll have like as soon as that tip hits the animal is when the blades are supposed to deploy. And so they have front deploy and rear deploy blades. Again, I'm not super well versed in the mechanical realm, but I believe the hypodermic is a front deploy. I believe it's a front deploy. So it as soon as it catches there, it deploys out and makes that wound channel, or it gets to full length. And so, so the other advantage, I guess, that people will say they have, which it is true. It's not like a argumentative point. They fly, mechanical broadhead will fly more true and more closer to what your field point flight will be compared to a fixed blade broadhead. So they're you don't have to do as much broadhead tuning with a mechanical blade as opposed to a fixed blade.
Right.
So they're going to fly a lot closer to true to your field point. So a little bit less tinkering, which I'm not saying if you throw a mechanical blade on there, you don't have to tinker with it, because you will, because it is just the way the weight is and sits on that tip is going to be different than your field point. And so you still need a broadhead tune, but it's just different.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
See, keep going. You got some good questions here. What else you got? You're doing so good, Brooks.
I'm pretty. I'm good on questions for now. I'm pretty tired.
Sorry. Want to go home now?
I'm good on questions. I feel like I'm going to cough up a lung half the time, so don't mind me.
Well, we'll finish up here for 5 to 10 minutes. Hopefully no more than about 10 minutes. But so Brooks can go back to dying. The one that Tanner really wants to hear everything about, the Beast Broadheads. Josh Bomar, I guess he's put a ton of research into them. I think they've been out for over a year now, maybe closer to 2 years or 200 seasons at least.
I think he came out with them last year.
So maybe they've been public for.
In full disclosure, like I don't have anything against them. I just don't really like it.
That's funny.
If he listens to this,
No, I mean, sorry, but like, it's just like anybody. Like that, I'm sure there's people that don't like me. I know there are people that don't like me. Sorry, Josh.
But anyways, Josh Bomar came out with the Beast Broadheads. What did we say? Beast stands for bone evading
advanced something.
Advanced spring technology.
Yeah.
So essentially the idea is where mechanical broadheads will typically have the disadvantage over or against fixed blades is they're really bad against bigger bones. So, or any bones for that matter. So when they get up to a bone, they get stuck in them and they just don't get the penetration, as opposed to a fixed blade. It just maintains its momentum and it maintains its energy, and it can go at least through some bones, if not most bones. And so that's where mechanical have had the disadvantage in comparison. Well, now with the Beast Broadheads, the whole idea is these broadheads, they'll deploy this just the same as any other mechanical. They hit, then they deploy. But when they are going through an animal, when it finds something hard enough, i.e. a bone, those blades will kind of retract itself, but not fully clothe itself, so it won't stop cutting. It will just kind of clothe a little bit, so it'll go around that bone, and then it'll like redeploy so that it can go back to its full cutting diameter, and then keep going through the animal. I'm
sure he did a ton of research and dedicated so much time to it, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how much of a difference it actually makes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on their website, and obviously, for the point of selling things, you're gonna put some, like, he's got some gnarly pictures with some nasty wound channels on these critters, but obviously, that's what you're gonna do to promote it. And I've heard good things. I've heard that there were some flaws in them this year. I'm not going to speak on much of that just because, I don't have firsthand experience. I can't say, oh, they don't work, or, oh, they work every time, because I don't use them. I haven't used them. Like, you can I'm just neutral. I'm not going to use them. It's not that I hate them. I'm just not going to use them. I'm in the camp of I'm going to stick to a fixed blade, and that's just unless I find a mechanical that is just absolutely bulletproof, works every time, gets through bones, and kills almost every time as long as I make a good shot.
I mean, I'm surprised you don't want to go with these, because he's got a Trump one.
I did see that, and they've got the Trump version for a few extra dollars. 45 and 47 Trump, red, white, and blue.
And really catering to his audience.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, they don't look like that cool, but they look kind of cool, but not worth the $85.
Whatever.
Especially when it's that one's a 3-pack. Most of their others, I believe, they sell in 2-packs.
Mm-hmm. They're definitely sold out.
They used to. Okay, I stand corrected. They used to sell them in 2-packs, but I think they got enough criticism on it, because I know that was a criticism at one point, where people were spending $75 plus whatever the price was for just 2 broadheads, and people were like, okay, like, if I'm gonna fill my quiver, if I've got 6 arrows, like I'm spending like $300 as opposed to if I want, okay, take those 275 grain single bevels I was talking about, they're $80 for 3. I want to fill going back to, if I'm only buying 2 for $75-$80, then I have to make that purchase 3 times as opposed to twice. And,
right.
I think that was a lot of gripes that people had, was like, okay, they are good. They are not that good to where I have to spend basically 130% of what I would normally pay.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's good that they made that adjustment, but like I said, I'm in the fixed blade camp. There's so many brands, so many designs, so many layouts. There's a few guys on YouTube that do a really good job of testing broadheads. One guy, Lusk Archery Adventures. I want to say he pays for every broadhead he tests. If not, some of them maybe just get sent to him, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll test it. But every year he comes up with like an additional aspect or new way of grading broadheads. And so like he puts them all through the same test, and there's no bias to them. He tests sharpness and durability and all that good stuff. And, like I said, he does a really good job. I like going to his channel when I'm curious about a broadhead, because chances are he has tested the broadhead, especially if it's semi-popular, he's tested it. And so he'll have a video on them, and, just go to look and see, well, how did this broadhead actually perform? And, he takes the arrow out of it, where it's like, okay, well, because I use this arrow, it performs better as opposed to some other arrow. He's like, it's the same arrow every time. It doesn't matter what arrow, it's the same arrow. So you're not changing that aspect of it. It's all about the broadhead. And so I really like his stuff. Lusk Archery Adventures. Like I said, go check him out. That's a free plug there, but shameless plug too, because I think it's really beneficial to go and get information, at least from him, because like I said, he gives you a ton of info.
Yeah. Check him out.
Yeah. I don't know. Any I guess we're getting to the end here. Any closing thoughts from either of you guys?
Taylor looks like he's like not impressed. Something.
Yeah. He's checking out of the hotel room. He's getting checked out.
Nah, I'm not. I'm just chilling. Shoot what you want to shoot.
Shoot what you want to shoot, Tanner says. Well, I want to shoot 500 grain broadheads and
I prefer
1,000 grain arrows.
Fixed blade.
Fixed blade.
Brooks, through this discussion, you're still on the fixed blade train, yeah?
I don't know.
Don't know. That's fair.
I'm open to both.
Well, if you go mechanical, I'm never talking to you again. So,
well, it's been nice knowing everybody. I'll talk to you later.
No.
Follow me I'll start my own podcast at
Half Fletch Archery.
Half Fletch.
No, I mean, part of me is like, I hope you do, so we can get a little bit more discussion. I'm just like so convinced in my research that I'm not going to go mechanical. And I don't know if that's unreasonable or not, but I'm just at the point where I'm not going to switch. I don't really have any other reason, as opposed to I've done my research and that's just the opinion that I formed. So
I think I might just do mechanical because you're just going to go fixed. And since you're a Matthews guy, I'm just going to be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Mechanical.
You're like, I'm a Hoyt mechanical guy and you're a Matthews fixed guy.
And he's also going to shoot really light arrows.
Oh, did you happen to listen to his arrow talk? He's like, how do I get to 400 grains? It's like, you don't. Which I need to retract.
Don't be a jackass.
I need to retract that. So I was basing you can't get below 500 on using their inserts. You can use other inserts that fit those arrows. And so you can, in theory, get below 500. You can get to like 475, 450 with different inserts. So I know we're totally backtracking like 5 episodes now, but you can get to below 500. You just have to change what inserts you use. And I like their inserts, so that's why, like, in that moment, I was like, "Oh, you have to use their inserts because they're good inserts." But you don't have to use their inserts. You can use any insert that fits. If it's lighter, so be it. Works well, sturdy. So you can go lighter. So I'm going back, eating my words, hand up. I was wrong. I spoke out of turn there. You can go lighter. I just really don't want him to, but no, you can go lighter.
300 grains. We're just going to send this one 500 yards.
I will not let you do that.
300, dude, that's fucking light. That's light.
I don't know if I don't know if you can get it below 400, but
No.
I would be impressed if you can.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you probably can't. So,
All right, fellas, any closing thoughts there?
No, Justin and I are going to do something fun on Sunday. I think we're going to try.
It should work. Hopefully. Should work out. If not, we'll learn something. I don't even know if we'll need it.
Yeah, I was just about to say we may not need it.
So, yeah.
Coming soon in 6 days.
6 days when that will happen. Probably 8 days when you hear about it. See about it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think I mentioned it with Brooks in the last episode, and as soon as that one gets posted, I will have it up, and I will post it on my story every episode. But we're going to have a question section in my story on @_ Fletch archery. So go to that Instagram page, check out the story. I'll have it updated so it never runs out. But ask as many questions as you want. Try to keep them mostly reasonable, mostly appropriate. We might answer a few funny ones if we think they're funny.
only if they're funny.
Or entertaining of some sort. But I don't know. We'll try to get all 3 of us on there for a question and answer episode. And I'm hoping we get at least close to enough questions. If not, we'll just shoot the bull and answer like 2 questions. The 2 questions that come in.
Or nobody will ever know that we got any.
It's true. It could be like one question could be like,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
why is Tanner so much better at shooting archery than Justin? And then, boom, there you go. And Tanner wrote that in actually, but
Yeah. Actually, it was Willow.
Willow.
See, no. I think we're tied. I think because we tied last summer for our scorecards, if I'm not mistaken, and our tiebreaker was supposed to be fucking tack.
That's right.
1-1.
But we
are not tacking. We are not tacking. We will try again at when is the next shoot around our parts? Do you know?
probably sometime this month.
That would be accurate. I don't know if it's this weekend or next weekend. We'll give it a look.
Give it a look.
Give
We're
it a
busy. We're busy Sunday, so it don't matter.
Yeah, we got plans. Big plans.
Big plans.
I got a really big team doing really big things.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
We need
fellas.
really big rings.
Good. It was a good one. Again, always like talking broadheads, always like talking arrows. So, with that, we'll wrap it up. Go, like I said, hop over to the Instagram @_ Fletch archery. Ask us some questions, anything you're dying to know. we'll get them answered in an episode that will come out roughly 1 week following, like 2 Wednesdays from now, or maybe at this point 1 Wednesday from now. So yeah, go check out the Instagram, give us likes, comments, subscriptions to all the platforms, so you never miss an episode. Because we know how much you love this podcast. So
follow the YouTube fuckers.
Follow the YouTube. Give it a follow. Give it a subscribe.
Yeah. Thumbs up. Turn the bell on.
Yep. All the good stuff. So, all right. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
So yeah.